Hey everybody, Brandon Boyd with The Brandon Boyd Show. Thank you so much for watching. And today I'm going to be doing a review of our recent stay at the Thompson in New York City. This is a Category 6 Hyatt property. It usually runs 25,000 points per night, but we stayed during peak time and paid 29,000 per night, or 87,000 for 3 nights. This would have cost us $2,772 in cash for the 3 nights. So did we get a good value? I think so. In this review, we're going to be covering a lot of different areas. We're going to look at the property itself, the amenities. We're also going to do a room tour and also take a look at a couple of surrounding areas that I would recommend checking out. Keep in mind, we do have timestamps down in the description below, so if there is a certain part of the video or review that you want to take a look at, utilize those timestamps because some people want to see amenities, some people want to see room tours. It can be difficult to figure out something that pleases everyone, but something that should work for everyone are those timestamps. Before we get going, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notifications for alerts and give me a big thumbs up on this video. So first of all, the property is located very close to the Park Hyatt, New York City, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Make sure you check out my review of the Park Hyatt down in the description below as well. This property was very well decorated for the holidays, a lot of lights, a huge Christmas tree in the lobby, and the staff were very, very friendly. We were greeted at the Globalist check-in area of the front desk, and everything as far as the staff goes was top-notch. We were very pleased with everyone there, and everyone was very helpful. I do want to point this out. There is this burger restaurant in the corner in the back. Now, at the time that I shot this, it was completely empty, but there was a line out the door for this place every single day, to the point that I didn't even have the opportunity to try it. So it must be pretty good, but I cannot personally vouch for that. As you go past the front desk, you are going to run into the lounge slash bar slash breakfast area, and overall this property had a very laid back feel as compared to the Park Hyatt. So if you're looking for a different experience, this is definitely different than Park Hyatt, even though they're located literally right across the street from one another. This is a very laid back atmosphere. And I did mention the breakfast. We are globalists, so we did get free breakfast every morning, and that paid off because the breakfast was a little bit pricey. But let me say this, I don't eat breakfast very often, but the breakfast here is some of the best that I have ever had. This chorizo turkey plate, oh my goodness, it looks kind of crazy, but it's one of the best breakfasts I've ever had just in life in general. I was very surprised by that one. Overall, highly recommend the breakfast. Make sure you take advantage of it. And again, it's one of those advantages of being a Hyatt globalist, and it's the reason we try to attain that status every year. Between this and the 4 p.m. late checkout, which I'll talk about a little bit later on, it makes for a great benefit among all of the other benefits as well. As far as the bar area goes, it never felt overcrowded. There were always plenty of seats available, but again, the staff were great. They had a very wide selection of different drinks, and they even had a very creative menu in terms of their bar menu. And you can see the barrels on top as well. They actually create their own whiskey there, which is pretty cool. And they even have the smoke machine for your bourbon cocktails. And this is great because the odor just permeates throughout the entire bar. It's one of the best smells on planet Earth. And if you argue with me, well, you are just wrong. One other thing I do want to mention when it comes to the cocktails is that they don't actually skimp on the alcohol in the glass. These were pretty potent all the way around. I'm not going to lie to you. These actually had alcohol in them. You're not getting watered down drinks that you would find at some college bar where they just put a bunch of fruity filler mixer or something like that with a little splash of alcohol. This is quite the opposite, and it was a very welcome change from what we usually experience when we run into some of these lounge areas. Okay, this is really important. I want to give you some context on exactly where we are at. So if you walk just straight through the lounge area where we were just at having cocktails and walk out the back door of the Thompson, there are two things that I really want to point out just to let you know exactly where we are. The first is right across the street is Angelo's Pizza. One of the best pizza places in the entire city. It gets a lot of very good reviews, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But if you look right down the street, literally right down the street, you will see the Park Hyatt, New York City. That's where we stayed earlier this year. So when you're comparing properties and you're trying to figure out, okay, is this worth it or not, you're literally staying in the same area. It's a very nice shopping area, very safe area. And when you're trying to compare the two, I mean, you're not going to get much closer of a location than between these two. So something to consider. You're not sacrificing location when going to the Thompson versus the Park Hyatt. Now let's move up to the room tour. I always love the room tours. These are a lot of fun because I want to give you the firsthand experience of what it really looks like here as you're walking into the room. These are not high of glossed over edited videos, this is what you will see when you walk into the room. Now, my mom was traveling with us. I took my mom with us to New York City for part of her Christmas gift, and you can see Kayla there as well. She's never been to New York City, my mom hasn't, so this was an opportunity to bring her. When you first walk in the room, you will have your coffee maker and some waters, and there is a refrigerator down below as well, which works out great if you're grabbing a piece of cheesecake to go. You have a refrigerator to put the cheesecake in, and we did take advantage of that for sure. It is important to note when you're in New York City, if you're not familiar with the city as a whole, the rooms are usually a lot smaller. I mean, that was the case here today. You're not going to get an overly large room in New York City. It's just not going to happen. So you got to make use of every inch that you possibly can. So there was plenty of closet space. I was happy to see that. And closing up the closets here, and let's move into the bathroom area. And the bathroom area, I wouldn't say is anything spectacular. It's a bathroom. But when you compare this to the Park Hyatt bathroom was very large. It had heated floors, and it had a rainfall shower. It's one of the best showers that I've just ever used in general. So when you're looking at comparing the two properties, this was a point of note. But if bathrooms aren't a big deal to you, if you're not going to make or break your stay based on the bathroom, then that's okay. I do want to point out that this is vegetable soap by Bowmakers, or Bowmakers. Heck, I don't know if you know how to pronounce it. Let me know down in the comments below. But I'm still confused by the whole vegetable soap thing. I'm assuming that it was good. Hopefully, because that's what I used while we were on the trip here. So the shower here, it was fine. It wasn't anything spectacular or out of the ordinary. It didn't have any extra water pressure or less water pressure. It was just okay. But they had plenty of product in the shower. That is something that I did appreciate, having the bigger bottles, because when you're running through with 3 people, you can run short on those little bottles, right? Those little sample bottles that they give you. So having the big bottles was definitely a welcome thing for us. You do have a big mirror so you can check yourself out before you head out into the city. And in terms of having chargers and access to chargers in the room, I was very happy with that. There were plenty of chargers in the room, and they had a lot of unique lighting fixtures as well. You can see the one that had the pull chain there, the 2 that are in between the beds. There was an old-timey radio kind of in between each bed as well. And then you had other unique lights just located throughout the room. You had the orb kind of light down on the desk and the light in the corner as well. And again, just to note an up-close shot of those chargers. Having chargers is absolutely critical these days. I mean, especially if you're traveling with family. Think about that. Now, in this case, we didn't travel with our kids, but kids always have an electronic device or something that needs charged or plugged up. So having access to those is very, very helpful. You see the luggage holder there in the floor. Again, that just goes back to what I said about the space in the room. There just isn't anywhere else to put it, quite frankly. So when you're looking for large rooms, New York City is probably not the first city that you're going to want to think of. The couch over here next to the window, yeah, very comfortable. I mean, I was quite surprised by that, and it's very big. We actually used this space as a place to set an extra suitcase that you could open up and get access to clothing, again, because the space is so limited. I did appreciate the larger window. The table in the corner, very helpful, especially when you're bringing back some greasy New York style pizza and you're all eating it together. Sharing that table and setting the pizza over there was helpful. When you're trying to maximize every inch of space, little things like that table can come in handy. So when you're looking at the room overall, does it compare to the Park Hyatt? Well, the Park Hyatt's a Category 8 property now for significantly more points. So when you're trying to compare the two, just look at things like the bathroom and see if that's something important to you. If it's not, don't worry about it. Now let's move down to the gym. Now, the gym was actually really interesting. It's located down below the first lobby level, and there is some construction going on right now, which makes the access to this a little tricky. You actually have to walk outside into another door, take an elevator down, and then walk through another business in order to get to the gym. It's a really weird setup, but it is temporary until they get that new entrance worked out. But in terms of the facility itself, it was pretty big. And of course, you have to have a Peloton bike or you can't be a gym in New York City. That is by New York City law. And I'm kidding, by the way. But the gym, not a lot of people there. As usual, I'm surprised that so much money goes into these gyms because I rarely see anybody in these whenever I'm staying, and I've put that on myself as well. I'm usually not in there working out either, although I probably should. But just so you know, if you did want to do that, there is plenty to do here, but it was very empty during the time that I was here. Now let's talk about some food options. You remember Angelo's Pizza, which was literally right across the street from the back door of the Thompson. This place is amazing. I actually found this place on the One Bite app, which if you don't have that and you're looking for pizza, make sure you use that. It's a great place to look for local pizza reviews. The food here was excellent. It was my mom's first taste of New York City pizza, and it's a coal-fired pizza. So it was really unique. The food was great, and you just walk right across the street. For convenience sake, I would recommend stopping there just for the convenience of its location to the Thompson. Now, a little bit further out of the way was Kat's Delicatessen, and this place is world famous. It's been around for over 100 years, and there's a good reason why. My mom had never eaten here. Heck, I'd never eaten here. Actually, one of you, the viewers, recommended this last time I was in New York City, and I finally decided to take advantage and take the recommendation, and I can't thank you enough for that one. Another place that my wife and I discovered when we went on our honeymoon to New York City some time ago was Rice to Riches. This is a rice pudding dessert place, and it sounds crazy. Rice pudding, how can you create an entire place based on that? But it is excellent, and we actually try to stop here every time we come through New York City. Ever since we came here on our honeymoon, we make a trek back over there, and we're always happy when we do. Did we stop at Junior's for a piece of cheesecake? Of course we did that, mostly because, well, A, you have to do it if you're going to New York City, and B, it was really close to the Broadway area where we went and saw Hamilton. And if you haven't seen this, oh my goodness, I've seen a lot of productions on Broadway, I mean a ton, and Hamilton is probably one of my 2 or 3 favorites easily. What else do you do when your mom's never been out in New York City? You take her down the escalator at Trump Tower, because you have to do that, of course, as well. And then we did stop by the 9/11 Memorial. And we did all this over the course of 3 days. So if you're trying to plan a trip and figure out if you can do all this, absolutely you can do all this. It's not a problem at all. I would make sure that you make use of the subway system just to save money on transportation. And it was really cool to take my mom on the subway and have her get around everywhere. I was actually really impressed with her doing that. It was something that she always wanted to do, and she got around really well. She and I hopped from one train to another, and she really enjoyed the experience. I know it sounds crazy, but when you've never been to New York City and you always see the subway system, you know, you may take it for granted if you live there. But otherwise, you know, if you've not, hey, jump on the subway. It's fun. We also did a carriage ride through Central Park. It is important to note that the Thompson and the Park Hyatt are located just a couple of blocks away from Central Park. So if you want to walk around Central Park, you can certainly do that. You can take a horse carriage ride if you want to as well. And I did mention the 4 o'clock checkout. The 4 o'clock checkout is one of the biggest reasons I love having globalist status. This is us going down the elevator at 4 o'clock. I mean, we milk every single minute that we possibly can, because checking out at 4 o'clock essentially gives you another full day of vacation. You know, if you have to check out by 11 a.m., there's not really a whole lot that you can do. But when you're there till 4 o'clock, you can stay and do so much stuff. You can continue shopping. You can do your carriage ride through Central Park if you want to do that, which is what we did on the last day. Imagine trying to do that so early in the morning. You can't. So is globalist status worth it? Between the breakfast and the 4 o'clock checkout and all the other benefits in between, yeah, I think it's worth it for sure. If I'm comparing this to the Park Hyatt, which is probably what a lot of you are going to be doing when you're trying to decide where to stay, especially if you're interested in staying in the Fifth Avenue kind of shopping area of New York City, I think you really get the most bang for your buck out of the Thompson property. Now, when I mentioned the bathroom a little bit earlier about the Park Hyatt having the heated floors and the rainfall shower, yeah, that's great. But do you need all that? Do you need all that every time you head to New York City? I don't think so. I think the Thompson is a great bang for your buck, and I cannot recommend this place enough. If you're going to New York City, check out the Thompson. Certainly check out the Park Hyatt, but definitely give the Thompson its due. It is definitely worth it. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you do have any questions, comments, leave those down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications for alerts, and when you click on the channel, you always get updates on credit cards, points, miles, and travel, and we'll see you on the next episode.